Hey golfers, there was some talk on the forum about hitting down on the golf ball more and how it compresses the ball more. So the thinking is when we strike down on the golf ball, that compresses the ball into the turf or creates a kind of ball, then club face, then ground sandwich, as the ball is sandwiched between the face and the ground. But we see here, this is McIlroy. This is a very compressed shot. I'm very sure he is a tour pro. That there's lots of forward shaft lean. We look at the divot after, and it's a pretty chunky divot. So most people would say this was a very compressed shot, even just looking at the divot and look at the shaft bend here. However, if we look at what's happening through impact, and I can actually draw on, if I just take the leading edge here. I mean, this is kind of actually I won't take the leading edge because it disappears. I'll take the hosel here and then go through to impact. So you see he's hitting down on it maybe 7-8 degrees or so, something like that. At least I know it's a crude analysis of angle of attack. We'd need a TrackMan or GC Quad to see it in reality. But he's hitting on the downswing. Yeah, if I put a dot on the golf ball, on the center of the golf ball here, even though he's hitting on the downswing, the immediate launch of the ball, even just a couple of frames later, it is very much on the upward spiral, upward path. So that ball is launching high, it's launching up. Why is it launching up? Well, look at where the loft is pointing. So even if you're hitting down on the golf ball, that ball will not go down into the ground and then bounce up off it. It actually just launches straight up off the club face line, or it's very close to the club face line or the loft angle. So, I mean, even without this video, we know from the principles of physics that the ball will start closer to the loft angle. That's just a principle of physics. There may be a feeling of compression, and that's why guys like Trevino talked about, oh, I hit the ball down into the ground. That's because what he felt, maybe. But that's not reality. That's not what the ball actually does. And so with modern physics or a modern understanding of physics, we know what actually happens. In fact, if a player, let's just draw some lines on again. So say a player is hitting at impact. Let's just say their club, the center of the club, the sweet spot is traveling down like this, and the loft is pointing up. We call that, the difference between those lines, spin loft. And so someone said that, well, if you hit down on it more, that increases compression. Well, actually, compression is increased when you reduce the difference between these two lines, or you reduce spin loft. So compression is actually bigger in a driver, or all else being equal, if the club speed was equal, compression would be higher when spin loft is reduced. So we could say that, say you hit down on it even more, so let's draw a new line on here, I'll do purple. So if you were to hit down on it even more and go on the purple line, you've actually just increased the difference between the angle of attack, the purple line, and the red loft line, or we've increased spin loft. In that scenario, compression is reduced and spin is increased. Now there's this talk, well, the more you hit down on the ball, doesn't that increase the height of the shot? Well, no. Actually, in most cases, it's not going to. So an example here, if we were to hit down on the purple line. So say, for example, I've got specific numbers for this. If you were hitting a 7-iron at 170 yards and you hit 4 degrees more down on it, the ball would launch 1 degree more down. It would launch a little lower. It'd launch 1 degree lower. Now, even if the spin rate were to increase by 1,000 RPMs, which is quite a lot, if it were to increase by 1,000 RPMs, the height of the shot is actually lower still. Even though the spin is raising the flight, the peak height, because of the lower launch, the peak height is actually lower when you hit down on it more. So this idea that you've got to hit down on it to get the ball up, there's an element of truth to it. You know, you can't hit up on a ball, or you can't have a positive angle of attack, let's just say. You can't have that club moving up when the ball is resting on the ground. It's very difficult to strike it effectively. But hitting down more on the ball doesn't make it raise up any higher. The height of a shot is predominantly caused by the dynamic loft, or what loft you're presenting impact. And in my article where I said the title of the article is Why You Shouldn't Hit Down on It, I clearly laid out in that article that yes, the club may be moving down. So yes, I'm not going to deny the club head is moving in a downward angle attack through impact. However, what the hands are doing, the hands should actually be moving up through impact more. And I know that's really it's really difficult to understand, but I mean, I've got a nice blurry image of Tiger here. And the reason why it's good to have a blurry image is because it shows you the kind of path that his hands are taking through impact. You can see here, if I draw a little dot on the top of the glove, so you can see here, then here, and then through impact, there's a sharp upward movement of the hands. So from here to here, that last movement, the hands are actually working up through impact. And this is a key thing for good ball strikers and for consistency. And when players get told you have to hit down on it, yes, there's an element of truth to that. I understand where that idea comes from. The club head should be moving down. What people don't understand is the club can actually be moving down while the hands are moving up. And I have modules on this in the strike plan. So yes, I know it's a little promotional, but hopefully this video has been informative enough for you to start considering certain things and thinking about topics a little differently to how we were taught in the 80s and 90s. It's more modern information out now. We know more about what professionals do, what the club head does, impact physics, things like that. So if you want to dive deeper into this stuff, you can look at my next level golf program, or the strike plan is where I go through this specific hand path stuff. So that is adamyounggolf.com / actually just go to adamyounggolf.com and then click on products and the strike plan. But hopefully this has just been a thing to help you understand that hitting down on it doesn't make the peak height higher, doesn't make the ball go up more. Hitting down on it actually makes it, all else being equal, launch a little lower. And even if it spins higher, you're probably not going to overcome the lower launch through increased spin. And also hitting down on it, all else being equal, is going to reduce compression, not increase it.